y equals ax plus minus b squared plus minus c. In general, what are the effects of the parameters a, b, and c? Now the a value affects the vertical stretch of the parabola. So we multiply the y values by a. The b value shifts the graph left or right. For example, if we say y equals x minus 2 squared, the opposite of what you think is the way it goes. So minus 2, we actually go 2 to the right. If this was x plus 1 squared, it's actually 1 unit to the left. Finally, the c value does a vertical shift as expected. So if this graph here has plus 3, it means 3 units up. The x and y transformations are independent of one another. They don't affect each other. And if we wrote minus 1, this parabola down here would be 1 unit down. Let's take a look at this parabola on Desmos.com. When we have x squared, that's a regular parabola, and it goes through the point 1, 1. We can zoom in and we can see the point here. However, if we have a new graph, y equals 2 times x squared, what happens to the original point 1, 1 now become twice as tall? The x value remains the same, but the y value doubles. If we put a minus sign in front of this graph, it flips and becomes flipped about the x-axis. Now let's try y equals bracket x minus 3 squared. As you can see, the vertex moved 3 units to the right. In fact, every single point moved 3 units to the right. And if we write y equals x minus 3 plus 1, the vertex here is now 3, 1, because the graph moved 3 units to the right and 1 unit up. For enrichment, in general, what is the effect of the parameter b? We'll learn more about this kind of transformation next year, but let's practice this. Suppose f of x equals x squared, a parabola. If we say y equals 2 times f of x, we know that f of x is x squared. So essentially y equals 2 times x squared. We just use substitution. This a value affects the vertical height. We multiply the y values by a. And we know that when we say y equals 2 times f of x plus 3, this here is the d value, and we know the graph goes up by 3 units. Furthermore, if we copy this question but change this to x minus 1 plus 3, what does this mean, f of x minus 1? F of x is x squared, so we replace this graph with a parabola, but we put a large bracket here, and instead of copying an x squared, we write something squared, and we replace x with the input, x minus 1. So what this means is that the graph moves 1 unit to the right. So we'll write this down. You multiply the y's by 2, and then x minus 1 refers to a shift 1 unit to the right. And finally, this 3 means 3 units up. Now let's focus on the b value. When we say y equals f of 2x, we use function substitution, just like before. What is f? F is x squared. We replace the x with a bracket, and we write it all squared, and we substitute 2x for the original x here. So what does this mean? This means that the b value affects the horizontal compression, either getting skinnier or wider. Specifically, what this means is we multiply all the x values by the reciprocal of b, so 1 over 2. When we multiply all the x values by 1/2 or 0.5, everything gets skinnier. So what used to be a parabola that looks like this, that cuts through 1, 1, now becomes skinnier. So the x value is no longer 1, but it's now 1/2, but the y value remains unchanged. And by the way, this skinnier graph can also be thought of as a vertical stretch. By using exponent laws, we have 2 squared is 4 and x squared. So when we say y equals 4x squared, we get an equivalent graph that looks like this. The exact same graph. Thinking vertically, a vertical stretch of 4 has the exact same visual effect as a horizontal compression by a factor of 1/2. So if we have a graph such as y is equals to f of 1/3 x, this actually means we're multiplying the x value. We're multiplying the x's by the reciprocal of 1/3, which is by 3. So it's 3 times wider. That's what's happening. So we'll substitute f is x squared, and pour this inside here. So this is x over 3, or 1/3 x, same thing. So this number here means the graph is going to be 3 times wider. So instead of drawing the standard graph, such as 1, 1, it's going to be a lot wider. In fact, we're going to have 3, 1, because the x value gets multiplied by 3.